Basically, after this, I wanted to take some time to explain some of the other options since we have advanced a lot over P&ID. Like I said, you have menus here that they're going to allow you to do the very same thing, like assign tag, for example, or annotate. And you can place an annotation from here directly into your P&ID. You can choose equipment tag. So it's going to do the same thing as you will do right click and choose annotate. Same thing for assign tag. You can also edit the block, but we're going to see that when you use this option, it's going to edit the block locally. When you have, for example, a different item that you want to modify, say, for example, that we need this vessel to look a little bit different than our out-of-the-box block from Plant 3D. So we can always come here, right-click, and click on P&ID Objects block. So that's going to take you to another window. This is the block editor. And say, for example, you need a line over here, say. I recommend in this part, don't change a lot from here because, for example, these attachment points, the node that I was mentioning, they are exactly that. They are attachment points. So Plant 3D is going to take these nodes or attachment point as your connection points. So here you have certain limits to change the block. I prefer every time if I need to create a new block and I know I'm going to use the block many times in different P&IDs, then it's better to call your project administrator to insert a new block in your tool palette. But for local and for a specific one-time solution, this works well. Here you can hit into Save Changes, and you're going to see the change. So don't worry about making this change because this change is going to affect only to this heat exchanger. For example, if I decide to go back to the Equipment tab and add the same, it's going to come the way it's supposed to come. Like I said, this is just a temporary solution, or I would say one-time solution. So we're going to go back. We're going to leave it as this. In this part, the line group is just to make the same thing we did with the edit group. For example, when we have, if we have another line here, let's say, for example, going this way, and we wanted to make a part, we wanted to integrate it to the line P027 or 26, excuse me. We're going to hit make group, for example, and we're going to hit make group. And first, we're going to select the source line. Let's say the one that is going to be my main line. And then we're going to select the S lines that we want to add, in this case, this one. And then we're going to, if we don't have anything else to select, we're going to right-click, and we're going to select Enter. If we select our line now, then we're going to see that it's pretty much the P026 as well. So it's going to take the same number. It's the same thing that we did with this command, edit group, the one that I showed you earlier, to kind of like remove this line from the line 020. We're going to control set this because I don't want this change. I'm going to keep my P&ID the way it was. And this option as well does kind of the same thing. It's just going to select all the line segments in the group. A line segment is, for example, when you have a line that it has the same number, and inside of the line you're going to have a reducer, then the line is pretty much going to be the same, but it's just going to change diameters. Then that's what we call a pipe segment. A pipeline group can have a lot of pipe segments or line segments, meaning that for example, in this section, if I decide to add a reducer, a concentric reducer, let's just add a concentric reducer, for example, right here. And then in the line 25, I'm going to have two segments. Right now I didn't change the diameter, but for example, if I decide that this portion is going to be 8 instead of 6, I have to right-click. I'm going to enter again to assign tag, and I'm going to change this to 8. Going to hit assign, and as you can see, this automatic change. Now I have two segments. I have 8 inches and I have 6 inches. I have the same line group. That didn't change. It's always the line 025, but I have two segments. So when you select something in a line group, you have to be careful, because right now you are selecting one segment. You're not selecting two segments, the two segments. So when you have a line, for example, a very long line that it goes through the whole P&Id, you may have a lot of segments. So instead of selecting one by one, for example, if I want to select this segment and this segment, see how it changes, it's different. If I want to select the whole thing one time, I'm just going to hit select group, and I'm going to hit here. See, now my two segments are selected. So for example, if I want to change the specification, I can do that. I can hit MO, and here I can change this. For example, if I decide to select the segments, then here I can change it to, say, for example, 600. So if I make the change here, my two segments are going to change. Automatically was switched to CS600, that's good, but I'm going to ensure, because don't forget, this annotation is from this first part. So this first part is 8 inches, CS600, that's good. But is the other one too? Let's see. Yes, it's correct. So when you select a segment, for example, now I'm going to try to do the same thing, just only selecting this segment. I'm going to click on assign tag. And here, for example, I'm going to do the same way as I did it through the properties. It's also a way to change this. So you can either go to assign tag or you can go to the properties. So here you can go to, I'm going to try to revert that back to CS300, but you'll see what's going to happen, because right now I just selected one segment. So it switched to 300, so this is good, but I'm going to see the part that is 6 inches. See, so the 6 inches is still CS600. So when you have many segments, you just want to make sure that they're all selected with select group. And then you can enter to properties. And then here you can select your specification to CS300. Perfect. You can hit OK. Perfect. I also wanted to show you another thing with control valves. You can always turn any valve to a control valve. Say, for example, that we need a control valve in the suction, in the discharge. Let's say we need here a control valve. A way to convert a control valve from normal valve is you're going to right-click and you're going to select Convert to Control Valve. So you're going to select your type of actuator. In this case, I'm going to select piston, because I have different options here. So it's going to turn into a control valve. Here we're just going to leave it 0.5. I'm going to hit assign. Perfect. Just going to move. I'm going to delete this for now. I'm just going to leave it as is. So see how easy it is to substitute, to replace, to convert elements. It's very interesting to see how we can efficiently change or substitute. Now we're going to move to insert the descriptions on the top. Sometimes in the P&IDs I see some descriptions in the top. This is also very easy. Like I said, these are smart elements, so we're going to enter to. There's two ways, by the way, to enter to properties. You can either right-click and hit properties, or I do prefer the shortcut, so I go type MO, and then I hit enter, and then I'm going to go and add some information. I'm going to add diameter here, 10 feet, and then I'm going to add height 30 feet, like this. Perfect. And then I'm going to add some operational, going to add some, the pressure, for example. Say, for example, we're going to put atmospheric and temperature 150 Fahrenheit. Say, for example, it's just an example. I'm breaking the rules of the unit, so forgive me for that. So we're going to close this window, and then we're going to go back to annotation, and we, instead of putting equipment type, we're going to go with vessel info tag. Let's see what it gives. So as you can see, we have a lot of information that is showing the P&ID, and this is entered by the properties option. So I got, well, the number. Actually, I didn't want to have the number here. Well, the number is, that's good, that's the 10, but I was missing the diameter. So the diameter, for some reason, it's not getting the diameter symbol, so I'm just going to remove it to see if I can get the diameter 10. This is because the width is the parameter that I was looking for. Actually, diameter in this case is not set to show up in the annotation, but is the width. So we're going to go, for now, we're going to pretend that is diameter. This again can be set by your project administrator. So we're going to go with 10, and then 30 feet here, and there you go. I'm going to move it right here. Now I wanted to talk about there's an option for the Slines called schematic edit lines. This is quite important. I use this on a daily basis. So I'm going to explain the different options you have here. As you can see, when you start creating P&IDs, the break is added automatically, which is very nice. You don't have to split your line yourself every time you create a line. There is a way that Plant 3D is going to add a break, which is very nice. So let's insert a segment just to explain you a few things. You're going to right click and you're going to enter into schematic line edit. You can add a gap. Sometimes you have, for example, say that this line is going over all this part. Sometimes you have, sometimes your process engineer is going to decide to throw a line in the middle of your P&Id and you need to add a gap. You can do so by entering into the schematic line edit and click in add gap. I want to click here and say, for example, I want to click here. If you want to move the little handles here, you can do so by clicking here and shifting your little handle. You can remove a gap also doing the same thing, but instead of adding, you're going to remove a gap. So now you're going to hit into the little handle here and the gap is going to disappear. The other thing that you can do as well is, for example, like I said first when we saw the check valve, is to reverse the flow. Right now the flow is going to the right, but I can always change this. Let's see the example with the check valve. Say, for example, we have a check valve here. If we decide to reverse the flow, we can right click and we can click into reverse flow. So the check valve just change directions, and now I have my line going to the left. The other thing that you can do as well is to add a corner. You can, again, enter here. You can apply corner. Say, for example, now you want a corner here, and then you just want to break here your line, right? And then in which direction is going to move your line? Let's keep the same direction, and it's going to apply a corner. The other thing that you can do is also attach components as well. For example, sometimes we have lines, this type of lines, where we don't actually want to show that we're connecting to an equipment. In this case, for example, how can we connect this line to this equipment? We can do that by, again, entering to the same option, schematic line edit, and selecting attach to a component. So now we have to select the component to attach to. So it's going to be this tank, and then we're going to be asked to select the S-line endpoint to attach. So in this case, it's going to be this one. I don't see the endpoint, but I can tell that this is the endpoint according to the snap, the O snap, and I'm going to hit left click, and if I select my line, I'm going to see that it's going to the TK010. If I hover over, it's indeed going to the TK010. Going to delete this. You can deattach the line doing the same thing. Just instead of attaching, if I go back, you can select and detach from component. You have to select the endpoint, and it's going to be detached. So this menu here, the one that I'm showing you, the schematic line edit, because you can perform any operations. For example, sometimes we have a modification here. Say, for example, that we need to insert an equipment here on the discharge. We have to insert an equipment, a different equipment, so we need to break this line in two pieces. And so that's a more complex operation. I wanted to show you because that's a real example. Sometimes the process engineer is going to tell you, you know what, we kind of need something that we don't know yet what is going to be in the sense of dimensions or manufacturer. So I want you to put like a box there that is going to show that something is going to go there. Okay, perfect, no problem. So there's many different ways to approach this, but I'm just going to show you what I do at work. You can again enter to schematic line edit. You can select break, and you are going to select a point here. And what this is going to do is to break the line statically. It's going to maintain the relationships. Now, for example, if I select right click, then you're going to see that it's still a line group, but now I have two segments now, I have different segments. So I can separate this from here. It's still the same line, so that hasn't changed. And now I can add my unknown equipment doing, for example, a rectangle. So let's type rect from rectangle, and we can add our rectangle here. And we're going to transform this to a P&Id element. So we're going to right click and we're going to select convert to P&Id object. I want you to pay attention to the engineering items. These are set by your project administrator. So whatever is available here is going to be set by your project administrator in the project setup. So for now, like I said, this is a whole different topic. We have this, we can customize this, or project administrator can customize this for us. He can give us whatever types we want. In this case, let's select inline assets. Let's see something that it might be interesting to add. Let's put an inline mixer. Let's say, for example, that we're going to mix this, and then we're going to hit OK. And then we have to select an insertion point. We can hit the middle here somewhere, and then right click. And I believe actually there's no need to do right click because it's already, it's already converted to a P&Id element. As you can see, now when I hover over, it says inline mixer. The tag hasn't been given yet, but now if I'm going to try to give a tag, but right now the tag is not available because in the project setup, the inline mixers are not available for tagging. So, but for now, because I don't know exactly yet what it's going to be, then I just need to connect this line to the box. So I'm going to connect it. Now, once you see the dot, that means that it's connected. Again, if I hover over, it's going from E010 to, well, this part doesn't have a tag yet, but and here. There you go. So we use the break command in the schematic line edit menu, and as well you can experiment with the function joint. That will be, for example, if we can do the opposite action, right? So for example, okay, we don't have this package anymore, so now you need to go back to your original line. Okay, there's no problem. We can delete this. We can bring this the way it was. Again, this is an endpoint. I do prefer to have node, so you're going to come again to your OSNAP. You're going to deactivate your endpoint, and you're going to select node. There you go. You're going to hit here, so this is connected. And now to join the two lines, I'm going to select just only one, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to select against schematic line edit. I'm going to now select instead of break join, and I'm going to select the other line that I want to join. But now it looks like it just disappeared, the tag. And this is because the other line didn't have any information, or right now I think it was merged. Okay, it was merged. So in this case, we have our S line, one S line, no segments. Annotate by plain tag. There you go.